Modern industrial fertilizers promise instant green growth, but that quick flush of color often hides a quiet erosion of soil life. The faster nitrogen floods into the ground, the faster it escapes, washing away in rain, evaporating into the air, or burning through microbial communities. Fields become dependent on repeated doses of nutrients, and each year the soil itself becomes a little less capable of feeding plants on its own. The result is a cycle of chemical dependency that looks productive on the surface but steadily drains the living engine beneath our feet. But this rapid response comes from water-soluble salts that bypass the soil ecosystem entirely. Instead, they function like intravenous feeding for plants. Soil organisms, the bacteria, fungi, and microscopic engineers responsible for long-term soil structure, are largely left out of the process. Soil aggregates, the tiny clusters that create healthy crumb structure, start falling apart, leaving the ground compacted and vulnerable to erosion. The immediate gains of chemical fertility often lead to long-term exhaustion. Recent fertilizer price spikes have only made this fragility more obvious. In the search for resilient systems, many have rediscovered an old method practiced in traditional agricultural communities for generations. Their soil strategy treats fertility like a permanent savings account. They build a deep reservoir of carbon and biology that releases fertility slowly. At the center of this method sits a material that looks deceptively simple: charcoal. Charcoal made from plant material has unusual soil-building properties. When wood or corn stalks are burned in a low-oxygen environment, they do not turn into ash. Instead, the carbon structure remains intact. Under a microscope, biochar resembles a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers. These pores dramatically increase the internal surface area of the material. This structure turns biochar into something like a microbial apartment complex. Bacteria and fungi settle inside its pores, protected from predators. But fresh charcoal behaves like a nutrient vacuum. If added directly to a garden, it can temporarily rob plants of nutrients while it fills up. Traditional farmers charge it first by saturating it with nutrient-rich biological material. This is where the fermented manure pits come in. In many traditional systems, manure is placed into deep bedding pits layered with straw. Oxygen becomes limited and the material begins to ferment. In the low-oxygen environment, microbial communities shift toward organisms that break down organic matter gradually while conserving nutrients. The nitrogen that would normally evaporate remains trapped. Over months, the manure pit becomes a thick, dark slurry rich in minerals and microbial life. The real magic appears when these two materials, biochar and fermented manure, are brought together, turning ordinary charcoal into a powerful soil amendment. Its microscopic pores draw in nitrogen, phosphorus, and the microbes swimming in the liquid. The dry charcoal transforms into a saturated mass of fertility. Unlike soluble fertilizers that wash away, this material locks nutrients into a carbon matrix that can remain active for decades. Soil microbes slowly exchange these nutrients with plant roots through natural signals. Plants receive a steady trickle of fertility throughout the growing season. One of the most remarkable qualities of biochar is its longevity. Charcoal carbon can remain in soil for centuries while continuing to host life. Adapting this traditional system to a modern backyard is simple. Gardeners can create biochar using pruned branches or woody garden waste. Soak the charcoal in nutrient-rich liquids like compost tea or manure slurry for several days. This begins the activation period. After activation, the charged biochar can be blended into garden soil. Over time, it creates the same nutrient-holding sponge larger farms rely on. The secret to nutrient-dense soil is not speed but stability. Rebuild your soil capital gradually and powerfully. If this timeless soil wisdom speaks to you, subscribe to Timeless Humus Path for more guides that revive forgotten fertility traditions.